Hello, this is Michael Tabb. I'm the instructor for character creation and development, as well as writing for film and animation. Nobody has shown up this month or this week to the go-to training session, so this will be short and sweet. Usually, what we do is I open the floor to all students, and you ask me any questions about anything you've read so far. Yeah, talk to me about problems you're having with the work, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help it. Since nobody has shown up, I assume everything is going incredibly smoothly for you at home, and that makes me very happy because I would rather assume good. Okay. Um, so, regarding this week's homework, you are all in week 2. In character creation and development, you are writing a character dossier, which allows you to ask yourself questions and get answers on who the main characters are in your story, your protagonist and your antagonist. You will be going into detail on height, weight, what they keep in their refrigerator, details, just understanding who they are. Most importantly, you'll be doing their character histories as far as the regular questions go. And the histories can motivate and explain what is actually the most important part of the process, which is the character arcs, the premise, the outer journey of the protagonist, the inner journey of the protagonist, and the antagonist's goal. There are specific wording you will want to use that is explained in the lessons for the inner journey, outer journey, and the antagonist's goal. And what you're going to need to put in there is also explained, but it's very important that you understand you use that wording. So you start with a premise, whatever that premise may be. Like I believe one student this month in your class came up with this really great premise, which is the demons that haunt us turn us into them. So basically, the character arc is going to be going from angelic to demonic because the character arc reflects what it is the people are learning when they're watching this. When you're watching the movie, they're learning from the premise. So the premise tells you what the inner journey is, and they need to line up so that the inner journey is proving the premise. So that's first and foremost. I'm going to fix the camera. Then, with the outer journey, it is the protagonists what they're trying to achieve, what physical, completely physical, 100% visual goal they're trying to achieve by the end of the movie, and it's the pursuit of that physical goal that puts them through the emotional ringer that will lead them to the subconscious inner journey and make them change who they are. So, if it's getting justice for someone, that can make somebody more and more demonic, I suppose. Or if it's a constant betrayal in trying to marry someone and then they betray you and they sleep with your best friend and they do all these horrible things to you, you have to ask yourself what makes somebody truly act, uh, go from an angel to demonic in a sense, and make people pay and suffer and want to see them in agony, because that's really what I picture a demon does anyway. And then with that outer journey that you figured out, that is a physical task. So it's not like saving the world, because saving the world has no end. It would be, and it's not to stop something because that's a reactive goal. Your outer journey has to be to achieve something, whether it's win the prize, pay off your house, get admitted to this college, be able to pay for the college. It's a struggle we all know, but is worth the struggle. Um, uh, it's win the prize, take the trophy, get the raise, or get the promotion. Um, a physical thing, win the championship. In any sports movie, usually tends to be something like that, or get into the major leagues. You know, um, stuff like that. It's a physical act that has a specific point in which, when they do it, the movie's about to end. If you don't have a physical act that does it, you're not showing. You're not showing your story. You're just telling a story. And in a visual medium like filmmaking and television, you want to show um, achievement of an outer journey. And then you have the statement for the antagonist. And the antagonist is the one whose outer, he has in a sense an outer journey, but we don't call it an outer journey because he or she doesn't have to have an inner journey. But the outer journey that they have, the goal, the mission, whatever it may be, is also a physical task. It does not have to do anything with the protagonist. It is about achieving something for themselves. And in achieving what they want, the protagonist's goal is then unachievable. For example, if they both want to win the same competition or the same pennant race or the same promotion or the same girl and or the same boy or one wants to open the depths of hell to release demons on earth and trigger the end of days or something like that, an apocalypse, and the other one wants to not wants to either win those prizes or wants to marry the girl or wants to um, all those things. So they just have different goals, but they each have to be proactive, and that's the important thing: is that those that the protagonist and the antagonist both have physical missions that you'll know when it happens because it happens in front of you and you can see it happening. You know the movie's almost over when they've achieved it. Either one of them, and if either one succeeds, the other one must fail. And it shouldn't just be I'm trying to stop the other one from doing their thing. It needs to be each character doing their own thing because people in the real world are motivated by self interest. They are not motivated to just stop somebody else from achieving something. You know what I mean? So make sure you write your characters that way so they don't feel cardboard and just pasted in to be an antagonist in your film. That's the worst thing you can do in a script for an antagonist is just have them specifically there just to stop the other person and not give them their own goals and their own missions because it just looks like you pasted somebody there to stop your protagonist as opposed to having two independent free thinking characters going after what they want. Sorry. So that's that. Um, the other most important thing in the dossier, of course, is the one sentence character introduction in screenplay format. So it's paragraph format, it's one sentence. It has very specific guidelines on how scripts are written. And this is my introduction to having you guys write just the tiniest part of a scene and which you will get through to the end and be able to write the whole scene at the end of the class, which is what we're going to do. But we're going to start with one beat for each character and how you would introduce them. The first one, so you put the name in all caps. Then, surrounded by commas, you simply put the age, which would be, and it's one of the few times you actually use numbers. So you do 1-8 if they're 18 years old. You don't write out 18 years old because when you do a character introduction, we know right after that in every format, it goes character name, age, description, and then the action. And make sure that the action of each of the characters, as well as all the description, are things you can physically see happening. It's not a conclusion you're drawing. It's not an explanation. You're not explaining anything. You're not skipping around locations. It takes place in one set location, and it reveals something very, very important about that character, whether it's the antagonist and how powerful they are, or the protagonist and what their character flaw is. And it needs to be 100% physical. And those are the most important things that I will be looking at and grading in your submission of your character dossiers. That brings me to the assignment for writing for film and animation. In that class, last week, what we did is we wrote our basic foundations, which we had worked on how to do that back in character creation class. Now in this week, you're structuring your script, you're structuring your story, and I'm clearly getting messages, lots of them. Sorry. Um, uh, so basically, you're going to be labeling this week in ways that are clearly tied to the story that you've laid out with your foundation. What the stage one is, or what I like to call the establishing beat of the movie, where you set up your protagonist, the character flaw, and you do that in a crisis moment, a common everyday kind of crisis moment for that character. So you see why they're that way and what will need to be changed by the end of it. And you're going to reflect that moment in stage one, in stage six, at the end of your story, And you're going to do kind of a reflection of it and show how the character arc has changed them and how they would handle the same type of situation differently. So that you've shown that they've been changed by the experience of your story. And in between stages 1 and 6, you're going to label turning points, or that I like to call the escalations of the 3 act story, which is there are 5 of them. And the first one is an inciting incident, which is what's going to put the protagonist in a situation to want to change how they've been behaving because they want to do something they've never done before. So that situation is a hardcore moment that rocks them to their core and is going to make them do what is so hard for any of us to even want to do, which is to go do something that's going to cause us to change, literally change who we are, and that's exceptionally hard. It has to be a huge moment to get us to want to do that. So it has to be a huge moment in the inciting incident. Then at turning point 2, or what I call escalation 2, it is the moment where the protagonist makes the decision that will change their life irrevocably, irrevocably, forever. They make the decision to go on the outer journey. So whatever your outer journey is that you've selected in your foundation, which is like the character class is doing this week with their dossiers, whatever your outer journey is, that is a key component and part of the decision process to do that. That is this moment in your outline. Then after that, you have escalation number 3, which is the moment where after they've made the decision, they're going to finally realize how badly this decision could actually go. Usually it shows you that it's life and death stakes, like somebody dies or a reflection character can die, somebody important can die, or the protagonist is almost killed. Um, or if it's a love story, it shows the stakes of love and heartbreak and devastation and split up and gives us a sense of, oh crap, this may not work out. And that would devastate our protagonist. So it's the stakes realized is that um, turning point 3, or what I call escalation 3. It's a big turning up of the stakes. Each one of these is an escalation of stakes. You'll notice that for the 5 turning points or escalations. Then you get to turning point 4, escalation 4, which in a tragedy could be a high point in the story of ultimate hope. But 9 times out of 10, if you're going to have a happy ending story or a story where there is satisfaction in the inner journey, um, then this is going to be a huge down point. It's going to be an execution of all the fears your character realized at the midpoint, at the center in turning point 3 and escalation 3. Whatever was realized there, it actually happens or looks like it is definitely going to happen, and there's nothing the protagonist can do about it at turning point 4. Like that's usually when there's a breakup in a romantic story, or somebody is killed, like Obi-Wan Kenobi is killed, or something like that in the original Star Wars movie, A New Hope, and the bad guys now have the plans, follow the Millennium Falcon, and know exactly where all the rebels are hidden. They're going there to blow them out of the sky and blow up their entire base and wipe out the rebellion forever. So they're running against the clock. And then turning point 5, or escalation 5, is the final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonist for all the marbles. It's important to note that the protagonist doesn't have to win in order to have a successful mission. Look at the movie Rocky, the original Rocky film. And Rocky doesn't win the fight at the end. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but you need to see this movie. It was a very amazing story about a boxer who never got his break and is given a chance at random to be the man he always wanted to be. While he meets the girl he never knew he could adore, or he's always had a crush on. It's a lovely story about a boxer. Anyway, at the end, he doesn't have to win in order to be successful in his mission. He just had to go the distance with the champion, and he never knocked him down. And that's what he says at the end of the movie. You never knocked me down, something like that. And it was brilliant. And It led to actually what I think is one of the best sequels ever written, which is Rocky 2. All right, so those are the five turning points that will be in between the stages 1 and 6, and it is going through that journey that is going to trigger the inner journey, which is the emotional change of going from one opposite extreme to the other. Those are the main elements of the homework for both classes. Now that a couple of students have shown up, I wish to open the floor and find out if anybody has any questions about anything that you've learned this week or on any of the explanation for this week's instructions that you may have. Make sure you unmute yourself if you wish to speak. I'm just going to give anybody a chance who showed up an opportunity to ask.
I
Anyone?
actually had a question regarding mine. I know I talked to you
Okay,
about how.
pure and simple. Well, the assignments have been explained. You have my email. You know where to reach me. It's mtabb, T-A-B-B, at fullsail.com. On my first email I sent to everybody, welcoming them to the class, I included a link to a bunch of older videos that I've recorded and a lot of the lessons pre-recorded. And at least on YouTube, I know you can flip on see closed captions on any of those. And hopefully that works extremely well. For all the ones that all the videos I've done that are professional videos for the class explaining lessons as opposed to these go-to trainings, I did have the closed captions professionally typed by our amazing GVAS transcribers. And if anybody else has any questions, you know where to find me. Thank you, both Mr. Hall and Ms. Carr, for showing up. And I want you all to have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in.
So, is
Good
my
day.
sound out?